Hello everyone, GM. Welcome back to another episode of Overpriced JPEGs. It is time for your Wednesday interview episode, and this is one I am so freaking excited for y'all to hear. Some of you have been waiting for this. This is the conversation that I had with Kevin Rose and Frank DeGods back in LA in person last week as part of the Overpriced Happy Hour tour. This was an amazing conversation. I don't even want to preamble too much because I just want to get to it. I think Frank and Kevin are two of the absolute leaders in this industry. Their perspectives are very interesting. And we even got into it a little bit. I think Frank and I in particular disagreed on certain points or at certain moments. So I think y'all will really enjoy that. Only thing I'll say by way of administrative notes before we dive into this episode is that the next Overpriced Happy Hour live show is happening in Miami on June 5th at Hodler Gallery in Wynwood, and the tickets for that for OPJ holders are live now. My guests for that episode, that show, are going to be Avery Akinane and Mags Kala, who are both incredible. I think they are just the perspectives we need right now in this weird time during the market. So you will not want to miss that if you are Miami based. And because neither of them run an NFT project, but Avery is associated with VFriends, we are also opening it up to VFriends holders. So if you're a VFriend holder, you will be able to start reserving your seats for the event on Thursday, May 25th at 12 p.m. Eastern time. So OPJ holders, you can go reserve your seats now at opjtour.com. We'll put the link below, opjtour.com. And if you are a VFriend holder, you can start reserving your seats Thursday, May 25th, which is tomorrow when this airs, at 12 p.m. Eastern. And with that, we'll hear a word from our amazing sponsors and then on to the live show that we did in Los Angeles with Kevin Rose and Frank DeGods. Y'all know I think one of the most powerful use cases for NFTs are loyalty programs, which is why I'm so excited about our latest partner, GALXE. That's GALXE. GALXE is a leading platform for building a Web3 community. It is a no-code, plug-and-play solution to create task-based campaigns and loyalty programs. With over 67 million users, GALXE has worked with folks like Optimism, Polygon, Arbitrum, and more than 2,100 other partners with reward-based loyalty programs of their own. And I'm especially excited to announce their latest product offering, GALXE Mint List. Mint List enables NFT projects to issue allow lists based on different user profiles. It's free to use, and projects can then take advantage of GALXE's other offerings, like Task and Quest, which incentivize audience growth and user retention in the long term. Go beyond the mint and keep using GALXE's infrastructure to reward users through on and off-chain actions. GALXE's goal is to help projects grow in an authentic way and help them retain their users and communities over the long haul. And as a user, you can start contributing to your favorite Web3 communities today, joining allow lists through Mint List and earning rewards, NFTs, oats, tokens, and points. Go to galaxy.com right now, that's GALXE.com right now, or click the link in the show notes to get started. Your Web3 community is waiting. I am so excited to announce that this year, Overpriced JPEGs has partnered with OPENSEA, the world's leading NFT marketplace, built for everyone, creators, collectors, noobs, and experts alike. I'm an OPENSEA user because they have the best selection of NFTs and a truly inclusive view of the ecosystem, supporting 8 chains and 8 global languages. I trust the systems they've put in place to keep the space safe, like copyright protection, malicious URL detection and removal, robust verification, and more. It's why they are the place to buy, sell, and create NFTs. That's right. You know OPENSEA, you use OPENSEA, but did you know that OPENSEA now has drops? New exclusive projects launch every week from top projects and creators, and you can check them out now using the link in the show notes. They also recently introduced self-serve drops, which is in beta, and allows creators to launch their projects right on OPENSEA. This drops product gives creators access to tools like rich storytelling drop pages, multi-chain support, and drop mechanic customization. The full launch for self-serve drops is coming this spring. So check out the upcoming drops on OPENSEA right now using the link in the show notes and own what moves you. You'll also be supporting the show in the process. All right. Thank you both so much for being here. You comfy?
I was promised gin. What happened?
I know, man. Well, honestly, what happened? And I've got to be careful about how I say this. So you have to, our label, you have to get your labels for spirits brands approved by regulators, and our label was rejected twice, which really set us back. I had been saying,
wait, we're in Web3. You don't care about
Gensler, bro.
What is
Gensler's cracking down,
dude. This is a
dude.
more private setting. I would say something to that, but I'm not going to because I don't want to get in trouble. But I had been saying like, oh, we messed up. And then Liquid Collections, my partner on this, was like, hey, by the way, we didn't mess up. Like the regulation's not, like we didn't do anything wrong. They kind of just like arbitrarily called us out. I'm sure they like Googled something.
Relatable.
Yeah, don't we all feel that way? So anyway, it is coming, but that set us back. And we now we've gotten it approved. So now it's like a bottling challenge and there's supply chain stuff and et cetera, et cetera. I promise, guys, I'm not rugging you. There will be gin. We will all have a lovely gin party. I really wanted a shoey. I really wanted the best marketing that we could do at Overpriced Gin is Frank taking a shot of Overpriced Gin from his sneakers.
Does he do that? I'm out of the loop here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
No.
Right.
Can we do that tonight? A little shoey?
We're trying to like create the new culture. We're saving it for like all-time highs. So like classing up a little bit.
This is not an all-time high?
Not today.
So if I sweep your floor right now and we get all-time high?
In that case, 10 shoey. I'll do every shoe in the building. Yeah.
I was trying to avoid, all of them. You'll drink us out.
Yes.
All right, fair enough. Well, I thought about this and then I realized I'm wearing platform
That was on purpose.
heels. I know, I was like, nobody's getting me with a shoey tonight. Okay, you two are truly some of the most important figures in NFTs. You have both driven the space forward in huge ways. I want to know, I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this. How are you guys feeling right now? Like on a scale of 1 to 10, how down bad are we? Or like, should I be nervous that my livelihood is like fully depending on this industry? What's the vibes? Kevin, I'll start with you. You're making eye contact
literally,
with
it's
me.
called Overpriced JPEG.
Yeah,
so are we right priced right now?
I anticipated it.
I would say that, we'd be lying if we said that, well, I'll speak for myself, but every morning when you get up, it's kind of like, it's challenging, right? Like you're definitely checking in to see what's going on, what fire is on right now, and what are the prices? Because it's hard not to look at the prices when things are bleeding.
Oh, that's funny. I find it very easy not to look at prices
you just don't
right
look at all?
now. I
Yeah.
have fully blocked it out.
That's
I'm
good.
white knuckling it and not looking.
That's good. For us, but at the same time, it's like this. We've been through this before, or I've been through this before. So I have to remind the team that some of which have worked in crypto for a while, and others that haven't, that this is the norm and it's cyclical, and we'll get back to a good place. And I don't know that a good place means all-time highs. Like maybe we're right-sizing it, but I do believe it is up from here. Like I don't think. But I also, at the same time, I can't call this the bottom. So what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, it's I think the sad part is like when engagement goes down on Twitter, because what that means is even the impact of doing something cool is like mitigated. And so I honestly was a little excited about meme coins. I was hoping they would keep going because they like kind of can roll into more and more excitement, but yeah, it just feels pretty brutal.
Meme coins is actually the next topic I want to go into a little bit, or just coins in general, and I want to get into like their implications within NFTs. I will say I have been calling this the bottom quite boldly for like a month now.
You have.
This is the bottom.
100%. Well, it felt to me like a confluence of factors had hit between blur stuff, like whatever, where I was just like, honestly, you know what it was? It was, Maki kind of fake leaving the space and Franklin leaving the space, where I was like, if you have been anywhere considering leaving, like you're gonna leave in the next month, right? Like once these big guys, no, so you don't agree?
I mean, I think that it's not about just leaving, but it's also about wounds healing over time. Because I think that once people leave, or they may not leave, but they may just disconnect and sell some NFTs. And no one here, or I don't feel this way, wants to open up your wallet right now to buy more NFTs,
right?
Because you're like, holy shit, we've just been like cut 1,000 times over, death by 1,000 cuts. Like I've been bleeding, I'm kind of scabby. Like maybe I need a few more months to just kind of heal, and for something else to propel us to the next. Like there has to be a new shiny object, and I don't think it's going to be meme coins, at least for NFTs. I mean, that's a completely different space. But there has to be something that we all kind of can rally behind that brings in not just the 10, 15, 20,000 people that we see in the echo chamber, but that brings in outside normies into the space that get excited again, that brings, several 100,000 people back into it. Because in its heyday, like we were, 250,000, something like that, unique buyers? Like it was quite high.
Now we're 9,000?
Yeah. Somewhere around there, 10,000.
10,000 and like dwindling? Okay. My thinking was once nobody else is selling, and I feel like we're hitting that point where you're getting the people who are like, again, planning to leave the spaces and sell. Then once you hit that point, you're at least at an equilibrium and there's no place to go to up. If nobody else is selling, eventually you go back up, right? That was sort of my thinking on it. I'm curious, like, what do you see as being the next wave of what
drives energy in the space?
It's a good question. I mean, I would disagree a little bit in that when you say if there's no selling, it has to go up. I mean, Meebits has been just like this flat, beautiful stable coin for like the last year. And so, yeah, there we go. We got Meebits holder right there. You are stoked because you have not gone down. Yeah, that guy's stable as hell over there. Is like really pumped.
He runs Meebits for Yuga.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, there he is. I didn't even notice you.
Congratulations, Danny. Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, good to see you. Well, congrats. That's all I got to say on that.
Yeah, I think my take on the market right now is we're left with the hardcore hobbyists, right? So essentially, that's why I think tools like Blur, pro trading, NFT Fi, et cetera, is getting a lot of traction, because even in the bull market, certain whales, wallets, et cetera, definitely dictated the pace and the direction of the market. And I think now that it's just them, like at a pretty large degree. So yeah, I think that's like an adjustment for everyone to make, right? It's like, okay, where the narrative in the bull market was all about how do we get the mom in Idaho into gambling online or whatever, and like into crypto. Now I think it's, hey, these are people that at the same time they might be, dicks and really angry and like upset all the time because they're looking at their all-time high portfolio value. At the same time, they're the people that are by definition like still here, and they care enough about NFTs and, about finding this online community, et cetera. So I think there's a lot of information to mine from how people are reacting to all the different things happening right now to give, builders, founders more insight into what the diehard people care about.
So do you have any examples there? Like, is there stuff you're looking at that you guys are processing right now and thinking about how you'll integrate into builds or whatever you deliver? Yeah,
I mean, I think this has kind of always been to a degree our approach about the shoeies. I think what works really well for us is just really trying to make sure our core guys are like our core group is happy. And I think when you have a core group that's really happy, what that allows you to do is launch things that will expand your audience, but have this kind of groundswell community that will help propel that and make that larger than life, bigger, cooler, et cetera. So yeah, I think it's an adjustment. And then, yeah, I think the NFT Fi stuff is really fascinating because it's interesting because a JPEG costing like $100,000, for most people still in the world is like nuts. But if something does cost that much, having different avenues to get liquidity for it is a clear problem and solution thing that's just sitting in front of us. And so now I think we're seeing the rise of all this, like whether it's lending, AMMs, like just anything that's pro trade, pro anything, I think is going to get more and more traction.
I have a quick question for you. I'm curious because, on Blur, they've like put you on blast on the front page for a few weeks now.
Yeah.
And we track this internally with Sam and all of his stats. Obviously
he's a killer.
He's insane.
Yeah.
And so, we were debating and talking about internally, like, how do we approach Blur? And you guys had a nice little run up and tick up when they introduced Blend, and then like a little bit of a downturn. Like, what are your thoughts on that? Is that a net positive for you, or like, how do you think about Blend? And I mean, I agree that liquidity is important for people, but I just don't know. What are you doing?
That was one of my questions.
Oh, did you? Okay, sorry.
Down.
I'm just curious, like how I'm so used to being a podcast person. I'm sorry, Carly.
This is great.
Okay,
it's excellent. You've chosen the direction.
I'm just curious how that went.
Yeah. So, I mean, I have a pretty radical view on like a fan of Blur, honestly, and I get shit for saying that. I think part of it is I'm such a diehard believer that people are just gonna want to buy digital collectibles in different formats, with different use cases, with different aesthetics, whatever it is. So I find like people like Blur are just pushing and testing the edges of what the market is like capable of withstanding. And so as someone that's pretty committed to just continuing to build here, I find like when they fuck around with the market, it's actually kind of fun, and it can have like a negative impact on collection, community, et cetera. But yeah, I just think it's important to try to be as resilient as possible. So if our floor goes down a bunch because of Blend, in reality, at the end of the fucking day, people are choosing to sell, people are choosing to buy. And I think taking that like absolutist perspective on it makes all the crazy shit happening in the market more interesting than like scary, I guess. And I think people on Twitter tend to, get very scared, but at the end of the day, someone has to choose to sell that NFT and someone has to choose to buy it. And all these instruments in between are just like, just creating different spreads. So now like to me, I think the real use case of Blend is more for swing trading than it is for buy now, pay later, because you'd basically buy the punk, assuming if you wanted to buy a punk for 50 ETH, you could buy now like 5 and wait for the, and you wanted to flip it for 1 ETH, you can wait for the floor to go up by 0.2. And if there's enough liquidity, you could have made that 1 ETH in profit. And so I think that's more what it's built for. And I guess that they're probably going to go towards like NFT derivatives and, fucking even deeper leverage trading. But I think as an asset class, when you have a $1 billion market cap on some collections, they have to be able to withstand people trying to financially arbitrage it. Otherwise, they're not going to be able to withstand those market caps. Like, that's my overall take on it.
Do you want proof Moonbirds? Like, do you want to be in Blend?
Yeah, I mean, it's not really not our choice. Like, they could add that at any moment they want. And I don't know that I'm curious, do you know if they worked with Bored Apes to add that? It seems like...
I think they're just doing it permissionlessly. Yeah. So...
Web3. I mean, I think there's... liquidity for the user base is always a good thing. I don't think that's bad, especially for your long-term holders. I worry that the mechanics around what they're doing around the token and just if the token price goes down,
yes,
then they're fucked.
Okay,
right?
This is my question. So it sounds like you're the defender. So I want to put this to you, right? Which is, it feels like you have this cyclical, kind of dangerously cyclical dynamic that is not uncommon to crypto, right? Which is that you have volume right now driven by airdrop farming and the promise of this token. This is where maybe I'm wrong, but my sense is the token price is propped up in part under the assumption that royalties will someday get turned on and get paid out to token holders. But that royalty is dependent on volume, which see above is dependent on the token. And now you're in this dynamic, or you've got this like three-legged stool where one thing gives way and like the whole thing implodes. What is your take on that, Frank? You've now become the blur defender up here, which is maybe not fair, but
shout out Pac-Man. No.
Yeah.
But no, high level, I think it's a PvP market to a certain extent, especially now. And so if you think about it, when someone is airdrop farming, they're basically saying that they're more bullish on the Blur token than they are on any individual NFT collection, especially if they're realizing losses on those NFTs, which I think is a fair take to have if you have the bags, right? Like, you can choose to say Blur token might go up more than X, Y, or Z NFT. And I mean, like, the thing that's underrated, and I've talked to Pac-Man a bunch of times, I mean, like, you got to understand, they definitely changed a lot of people's lives with that first airdrop. Like, it was pretty significant, the amount of money some people made, even with a pretty small amount of trades. So they have this pretty diehard, loyal base that I think will continue to airdrop farm because the first one was so good. And it's interesting because these guys continue to stay ahead of the curve a little bit on this NFT-fi stuff. So my guess is, like, they're just going to keep coming out with cool shit that's going to, like, continue that process. So I'm almost more like accepting that as a reality and normalizing it. And then the game becomes like, yeah, how do we make something that's cooler for these PvP guys to believe in DeGods than like the fucking Blur token, right?
I think the bull case, I think you're right, clearly, right? That, I mean, that's the game they're playing, is like, can we keep this going long enough? The airdrops, I mean, it seems like they're planning on keeping this going for years, right? Like, they'll have this airdrop, they have enough tokens to do this for a long time, with the hope that they grow the market by attracting DeFi traders and maybe to an extent like TradFi people. I mean, you got your start, obviously, Modern Finance, I think, came out before Proof talking about DeFi. Like, do you think that's a realistic case, that they're going to draw in a bunch of people who would otherwise be, on liquidity pools and DeFi, like trading JPEGs because they've financialized the market enough?
I mean, it more or less is that right now, right? I mean, this is just...
Well, there's like 300 people.
Is it 300?
Point is, like, are they gonna? I mean, I don't know, but it's not.
I honestly don't know the latest numbers. I know it's
like,
pretty,
can they grow?
Yeah.
Can they grow the pie this way? I guess is the question. Do you guys think?
I mean, were the moms in Idaho buying the people for $69 million, or was it like the whales, right? So I mean, like, I think, again, it's a smart strategy, and like, I'm not even out here trying to like defend Blur.
I put you in this position. It's not fair.
But like, yeah, I mean, like, it's a smart strategy, right? Like, you're going after kind of the people that, again, like, dictate the market to a certain degree. They're the ones sweeping. They're the ones buying these like super. If you have a lot of ETH, right? Like, you're the one that can buy 100 ETH fucking Bored Ape or whatever. So I think that's their game plan. Is if they have that, that's harder to attract than just people, going to a marketplace. And again, they have this OP. It's like they have zero fees, Like, OpenSea is making more on DeGods sales than we are with their fees. So I think there's that part of it too, where because they're like a protocol, it just, yeah, like people might go where the lowest fees are.
Just worries me that it's not sustainable. Like that's my fear is we've.
But is any of it like, you know, it's
Well,
like,
well,
I think
no,
it is like that plane being built as it goes in a lot of ways, because we were told a lot of, I had a tweet about this recently. It's like in the bull market, the guys that bought the right random JPEGs became gurus because they bought the right random JPEGs, and everyone followed them because they thought maybe if they follow them, they might buy the right random JPEGs. And I think that built up like storytelling NFTs, fucking like, you know, like IP rights, like all these kind of things that we were told. And I think, I don't know how much of that is true, I guess. You know,
is
so like
sustainable?
I hope so. I mean, like,
but that's my point. Is I think there is actual sustainability here, and you guys are building like a membership club that I think could have like a sustainable future in a way that
I almost don't even like the word sustainable, because it's almost like contrarian to the concept of crypto in itself, because I don't think people get into crypto for sustainability. I think they get in, you know, for exponential growth, excitement, like disruption, whatever like these labels are. So I find like the concept and like always hearing people talk about sustainability, it's a little misguided, because I don't think that's what the market is necessarily looking for. And I don't think that's what people sign up when they buy an NFT. Like, I don't think people buying NFTs think that they're buying the S&P 500, you know? So I think in a lot of ways, it is a new nascent field that has yet to define a lot of the rules of what it's going to be. So for me, when you ask, is DeGods sustainable? I think, you know, I don't even want to say yes or no, because I think the more important question is, hey, like, are we going to continue to figure out how to do cool things that make our community happy? Because at the end of the day, like, that's the nuclear element here, because it is people freely spending their money on these JPEGs on the internet with magic internet money. And I think sustainability is not necessarily what people are looking for. I think they're looking for something new, exciting, fresh, constantly, to a degree that might not even be possible to deliver towards. But that's the correction that we're having, I think, now.
So do you think this is a market? Do you think NFTs, blockchain, like, can go mainstream? Because I hear you say that, and I'm like, that 100%. To me is a niche world of people who will cycle in and out of something very hype driven, as opposed to something that gets integrated into our lives forever. And you've got people buying XYZ collectible because they want to own it, not because they're trying to flip it tomorrow.
So 100%. I want to hear Kevin's take on this, but yeah, I do too. To me, it's pretty simple. Like, there are only so many things that people with a lot of money can buy that are like over, you know, X number of dollars. And I think if you think about someone buying a new watch today, like the number of people that are going to see that watch, or like a sports memorabilia collectible or whatever, like the number of people that are going to see that thing at a raw, like human, like I'm going to put 25 grand on this Kobe sign thing or whatever, right? It's like the number of people that can see that IRL physical life versus online is just like not even close. So I think people are spending more time on the internet, and there will be a desire to buy things to flex, to showcase your personality, to, you know, do things that prove that you've spent money on this online game that is, whether it's Twitter, a video game, or just like your internet persona. So I think in that way, digital collectibles or digital identity pieces or whatever is like a no-brainer where spend is going to go. My favorite statistic of 2022 was 72% of luxury spending, I'm talking like Gucci, Louis Vuitton, et cetera, was millennials and Gen Z. And that's not necessarily the perception that most people get when they think about these, like, you know, really luxury brands, but that is the direction that things are going. So I think it's a no-brainer to me, you know, even as like a kid that grew up on the internet, that people are going to spend money to enhance their digital life at increasing speed and pace over time. And I think that the higher end of that is where NFTs make more sense, because it's a composable asset that you can carry in multiple places.
So that's maybe a case for OpenSea. You know, like if that's where the future's go, and they're the marketplace catering to that market.
Yeah, let's go OpenSea.
Shout out my sponsors.
Yeah.
Okay, Kevin. Yeah, what do you think of all this?
I mean, I believe. I mean, Frank's spot on with this. Like, there's no doubt that these digital collectibles will exist, and that this is just gonna, you know, a lot of the rough edges around collecting are gonna get sanded down over the next, you know, 5-10 years. But I have to also believe that this more or less mirrors the startup culture, and that 90+% of these are going to go to zero. I think a lot of them are just going to have teams that fall away and communities that just, you know, abandon them and then go after the next shiny object. Like, if you take a look on OpenSea or any other marketplace and you see what's trending, it's a lot of shiny objects, right? Like, it's like whatever is the hot thing of the day, of the week, of the month, whatever it may be. We all know which one it is right now, which you own one of. I'm not going to say it out loud. But there's a lot of stuff going on in this whole space that I feel we have to break out of that. And I don't know when that is going to happen because I feel it's such a echo chamber right now.
Yeah.
And it feels like we still have some time until that actually happens.
You made a comment to me earlier, like that this feels very different than building in Web 2, but that ultimately it'll come around. I don't know if it was to learn some of the same lessons of Web 2 or to start to look more almost like Web 2 than it does now. Can you expound on that thought?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, listen, like I love a lot of I'm a huge like decentralized maxi. I believe in it. It's part of the reason why we embrace CC0. It's like, I really wanted to say, we don't have to rely on any government agency to prove ownership. Like it should be done by the blockchain. And I know with Mythics, we're going back and we're saying, okay, we want to give the best of both worlds. So we want some actual ownership and copyright to go to the users. So we kind of sidestepped that and that was tough. Did you guys go CC0 or no?
No, not yet. Maybe.
Maybe you're going?
I don't know.
Oh shit.
Probably not.
I feel like you freak out.
I'll drink out of the shoe tonight if you go CC0 tonight.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah. You're a decentralized maxi. What's going on here?
Not a maxi. CC0. I think the CC0 thing is super interesting because I feel like it's a good concept, but I do think there's a way to potentially like incentivize people more, to build on top of it without making it pure public domain. But it's something that I'm not strongly passionate about either way, to be honest.
That's fair.
Yeah.
So what was your question? Sorry.
I don't know. I just wanted your take, I think, on, I guess, the future of this market. And I mean, look, my question was specifically like explaining your thoughts around like how this starts to look almost maybe more like Web 2
stuff. Yeah. I mean, I think at the end of the day, with a lot of those projects going to zero, there has to be something, your point about sustainable. It's like, I love, and I still own a DeGod, by the way. There's rumors of me not owning one. I still own. You can check my wallet. I love what he's doing, but like at the same time, it's like I want that team to be around for the next decade building cool shit. Like obviously this guy could work for Google tomorrow. Like there's no doubt, right? And so not that you would do that, but I'm just saying like you have a lot of options out there. They're going to pay you quite well for your career. And I want these teams to be properly rewarded so that they're around for the next decade building really cool shit and expanding communities and all the things that you're doing. So they're so novel and so exciting. And I just worry that that's not going to be the case for most of these.
Let me introduce you to a brand new company that I could not be more excited about. Web3 Sense. A Web3 analytics platform that combines on-chain data with social media insights to give you the deepest, most meaningful intelligence into any NFT community. I have tested other analytics platforms out there, but Web3 Sense has the most comprehensive capabilities I've seen in the NFT ecosystem. They apply sophisticated data science to wallet histories to determine behavioral patterns and help shape predictive analytics. In other words, they can tell you which Twitter accounts are actually the influencers in your space. And they can tell you what resonates most within a community by looking at what other communities token holders are involved in. The number of use cases here is virtually unlimited. So whether you're a trader, creator, institution, brand, agency, I promise Web3 Sense has data that you want to see with the deep and actionable insights that you need to build, analyze, grow, start, whatever you want to do within the NFT space and in terms of building a business and a community. Now, they are still in very early days, so they're eager to connect with the community. So if you're interested in learning more about what Web3 Sense can do for you and your business, and you should be, go and fill out the very short form linked to in the show notes, and someone from their team will reach out with more information and an opportunity for a product demo. Trust me, you won't regret it.
I mean, I sit here being like, are we old? Like, are you right or are you dumb? You know what I mean? Like, am I just like old being like, what do you mean it's like not sustainable? Or am I just like not with it enough?
See, the thing is like, it's the word, sustainability is like the word utility, where I get a lot of flack for even like talking about these concepts because people have these like ingrained beliefs around it. What I just try to point out is the person that's like asking for sustainability chose to buy a speculative cryptocurrency, move that to their MetaMask, then buy a speculative JPEG, and then they're sitting here talking about cash flows and sustainability. And I think there's like an irony in that, and that's all I mean to point out. I think it's a fair question, but I think it's hard for I would almost be more suspect of someone that tells me that guaranteed their NFT is sustainable than someone that says, I don't know.
Yeah.
Because it's almost like, all right, bro, like, what do you mean? Like something could happen, right? Like a lot of bad things can happen that would make it not sustainable. So yeah, that's kind of more where my thought process is.
Okay, let me ask this question, which has to do with paradigms that I see forming that I don't know if they're quote unquote sustainable, which is, I think it's very interesting that you have, and Blur is a good example of this, companies that are getting VC backing where the VC seems to be making multiple bets at once in a way that wasn't previously possible. There's, I'm sure maybe if there's an IPO or an acquisition, of course, great for the VC, but they really have their eye on a token drop where that's where the liquidity comes from. And that feels like a new model. Do you disagree?
I mean, they have rights to tokens, but they don't have their eye on it. I think the equity.
You don't think A16Z is going into this? And I don't know about proof, not saying anything specific, but A16Z owns whatever, some large percent of Uni tokens. And
yes.
That's how they're seeing ownership of Uni. And if they invest in Ape, Yuga, part of what they're thinking is ApeCoin as their liquidity as much as an exit, no?
I think it's equal. It's probably equal.
That's even fascinating.
Yeah,
even that there is something that's equal now to that. I mean, I don't want to keep using the word sustainable, but like, what are your thoughts on that? And, maybe even use this as a moment to talk about proof token, because that's something I know you guys have some thoughts around.
Yeah, I mean, well, putting my VC hat on, because I've done that for many years and still do it at True Ventures. When we back crypto and Web3 companies, Art Blocks, like the whole slew of companies we backed in Web3, which is probably 60 plus at this point. We ask for token rights as part of the offer letter, like the investment letter, but it's not like, we see that as kind of icing on the cake. We're still old school equity. Like we want that company to eventually go, have a big outcome in some way, like they're acquired by a bigger entity or they go public or whatever it may be. And maybe that's old school thinking, but, since then, we've had a lot of them launch tokens, and we kind of sit back and hold those tokens for the next 5, 6, 7 years until the fund is kind of expired, and then we'll figure out what to do with them then. So we're not like fast sellers in that market, but it's never, and probably every fund's a little bit different in how they see that. But I can imagine some would come in and just care about that quick flip. But you have to have patient capital. Like the best investors are going to be ones that are going to be waiting and sitting on the sidelines and saying, hey, we know great businesses take 10 plus years to be built. For us, and I'm curious to know what the next steps are for Dust as well. But for us, with what we're doing in our talents, is like we want to have this token where it is a way to say, I'm holding a Moonbird, I'm holding some asset from Proof, I'm receiving some of these tokens, and I can choose to spend them on some of the things that you all are doing. And that can be everything from coming to private podcasts and like little small gatherings, or entrepreneurs getting together and talking in a small environment that is worthwhile, or it can be very limited edition art drops that we do with some of the top grossing NFT artists that are out there. And so you get to raise your hand and say, this is when I want to spend my token. And we're going to do it kind of a Dutch auction style where you'll come in, there'll be, let's say there's 100 NFTs that are available for sale. You'll come in, bid your token, and then the lowest one wins. We refund the delta, and then essentially all those people win. And that's how you get to say, this one's not for me, or this next one is potentially for me. It's better than saying everyone is in the same bucket, because if you have 10,000 mouths to feed, it's like, it's impossible. Yeah. Like, how are you going to provide value over and over again? The days of dropping 30 ETH into someone's wallet, randomly, it's just like, those days are done. Right. Yeah. And so basically you have to have a better system that says, I can spend these tokens on things that are really meaningful for me. But I'm curious with Dust, because I still have some Dust as well. Yeah. What's coming?
Since it's a live token on the market, I can't make forward-looking statements around it.
Shit, you've been schooled.
Yeah, corporate.
I love that.
I warned Frank. I was like, hey, Frank, this is kind of like the overview of what I'm thinking about talking about today, and we're gonna get into tokens. And he was like,
somebody's talked to an attorney. I love this.
Corporate Frank is in the house today for sure.
He's not drinking. He's abiding by all the rules.
Yeah. Bitcoin DeGods. Let's go. yeah. But no, I mean. That's my kind of.
Well, so tell me about the points though, because that is something you can talk about.
Super interesting. Yeah.
So you departed from Dust. Dust is kind of its thing. It's run by an independent group now. more or less. It's my understanding. I'm just making this up. We don't have to talk about this if you don't want to talk about it. Because I know this stuff is really, really tricky. Trust me.
Yeah,
like,
it's super tricky.
It's super tricky what you can say publicly or not. But points is I see my number going up.
Yes.
That seems like a good thing.
Yeah. So the idea behind points is similar to exactly what you were saying. Like you can't airdrop 30 ETH in every 10,000 of your NFT collections, wallet. So I think the idea high level is, hey, like how do we build something where we can create a loyalty mechanism that we can disproportionately reward people that have proven either that they've staked for a long time or they've purchased on the secondary market, optimizing for, DeGods or Utes with more points. There's been basically 6 months of people waiting for finding out what these points are going to be used for, which is intense. And I think we're going to deliver something really cool that people are not expecting that will, again, and I've been pretty clear on this, like disproportionately reward people that have a lot more points than people that don't. But yeah, like I think that is the high level. It's one of those, this is like, I'm pretty bad at keeping secrets, but the points thing is like something that has been in the works for a while now. And we do want to just like drop it on the market and like plug in, see what happens type of thing. But yeah, that is like the framework of it though. And so that when you trade the NFT, it stays with the points itself and you can't separate the points from the NFT either. So you don't have people like accumulating all to like one NFT. You don't have people secondary market trading, the points themselves, almost like a de facto currency. It's very much like value accrual to the direct NFT itself. So it's an interesting experiment. 6 months of people being very impatient. And like, I think it's coming out pretty soon. So let's see what fucking happens.
Are you nervous?
I'm pretty excited. I'm not gonna lie. Like this is one of those things where I think it's a little bit of that game theory mindfuck that should get people, playing and like enjoying this process for a while. Knock on wood. I think it's gonna go well. We'll see.
This is. I always say this. Like this is a space that I think punishes specificity and rewards abstraction. And I think you guys have played this game. You've even talked about this, right? Like,
no, I think Kevin is the most fascinating one on this recently with the Spotify thing. Like, I honestly, it was like insane when I saw it because I was like, these guys are fucking funding Spotify. Like me and Kevin, even everyone on our team was like, no way, bro. Like we would be flipping out if we got Spotify. Like that would just be so sick. But it's this. The market is just like, this is why I was saying earlier about utility, about sustainability. I'm a big believer that most people that are vocal on NFT Twitter are like to a certain degree hypocrites or like they don't know what they want. Right. And I think, we just got to treat them like that because I think it's, that was like a wild saga to follow. I thought Whale Swoosh had like an incredible thread on it.
Yeah.
And it's just like, that was just like insane. I was like, holy fuck, Spotify doing something with Web3. Like this is a W. And then you see people react and you're like, dude, what the fuck? Like, what are these people thinking right now? Yeah.
Wait, I'm missing this. How were you in?
Oh, you're not tapped in. You don't know.
Wow.
So embarrassing. Guys, we're trying to raise money right now. There's a lot going on.
You've been traveling a lot? What's going on?
I have. Well, I know. I saw the Spotify. I saw Spotify come out with they've got token gated playlists and I saw something else. How are you involved?
So we launched a token gated playlist with them as a way just to do a fun little zero effort thing on our side. And like, why wouldn't you not get close to Spotify?
Sure.
Like as
no brainer. Absolute no fucking brainer. I was like, no way.
People were mad.
People were mad, bro. It was crazy. Yeah.
Because it's corporate? What was the...
No, it was more like there's just not enough utility here for us. And like, it was tough.
The smartest thing CryptoPunks ever did was not throw a party. They were like,
oh
we're not even playing this game. We are a collectible and we are historical and we are not going to get down this like death spiral of having to deliver.
No, but when you see that, like, and like, I want to even say I was hyped that we were doing this. I want to say that to you. Like, when you see people negatively reacting to a project, like doing something cool with Spotify, that's when you just know some MFers on Twitter are just wrong, right? Like, me as an operator, as a founder, I'm like, dude, that's a no-brainer because that's setting you up for the next play. Maybe you do something even cooler in the future. Just getting a no fucking team, low effort, get the inbound email, let's fucking do it. Like, no-brainer. And the fact that people have negative reactions to that, it's just like a learning lesson for people like saying stuff on Twitter just sometimes have no idea what they're talking about, genuinely. Yeah. And
I think people right now are so hurt that they're just lashing out at anything, right? Like any bit of news is an opportunity to like vent that that hurt of I'm down.
I was talking to another NFT founder and they were saying like, now is the time to not ship. Like don't ship anything, because the second you ship something, people get pissed.
That's why I asked if you're nervous. I mean, just in general, again, I think delivering anything always comes with risk in some ways in this space, because people do just want the hype the whole time. And then right now in particular is a hostile environment. I
think my strat, this is like open sourcing it. This is like the game plan for us, at least what works is I try to like know what people are going to be mad at and like really optimize around that, so that that's the focal point of people being angry. And then the rest of the launch is like kind of scoped around
you mess something up. You're like, hey, go pay attention over here, angry folks.
Not necessarily mess up, but it's like, I know what we're about to do with the points. Like I know what the #1 criticism will be, and I'm pretty ready for like the responses there, and like that's scoped into the idea. So I think like that is a strategy right now for a while in this market, is like you almost want to contrive to like drum up the controversy. And I'm like so desensitized to it at this point. It's just like, you know, another day, people are fucking yelling at me on Twitter or whatever. But yeah, I think that is like a sick way to do it, where people are going to find some shit to dunk on you for like whatever you launch, right? Could announce that Elon Musk is buying the collection and people be like, oh, but Elon, you know, people just find some shit to like give their clever little quote tweet dunk. Their little fucking fanboys of their quote tweet dunks are gonna go like that. And those people have ultimately like no impact on the market itself. But it's fun to use that to leverage the number of impressions and like growth that you have on that tweet, because it's actually really hard to go viral today. That's why we started this talk with like engagement across Twitter is just down compared to, you know, even a few months ago. So it's actually like, we talk about this all the time. How do we make sure that the tweet when we launch something goes viral, and like try to engineer that process as much every time. And like we're really hard on ourselves when it doesn't, because if people don't see it, then it doesn't even fucking matter what we launch, because if people don't see it, then like, Elon could have bought it and nobody would have known.
So let me ask, as part of this process, and I have, honestly, are we been going for 30 minutes? How long has it been? I think 30 minutes, but we'll go a little bit longer because this is fun, and then we'll take some audience questions, and then we'll get some drinks. You guys good? Okay. So I want to talk about storytelling a little bit. You've spoken about this, and you guys are doing some interesting things, I think, in terms of creating some content around the behind the scenes process for DeGods. And I don't know if you have other storytelling things in the works. It's also interesting to me what you guys are doing with Mythics and Moonbirds, and coming out with some really awesome videos around that. You have been two projects that I would say distinguish themselves from like a Doodles or even maybe a Pudgies, that are going clearly the IP storytelling play route. How do you guys think about storytelling in the context of your projects? Kevin, I don't know if you want to kick off there.
Yeah, I mean, this is Justin's realm, and unfortunately he's not here tonight, but he is, for Mythics in particular, like we know we want to go heavy on the IP side and like really get people a backstory on why they should be excited about this project. And it's gonna be a much lower price point for people. And so we want to go in and build out all of the lore that we didn't have time to do with Moonbirds and from the onset. Cause we were just, everything was going so fast for those first 8 months that there was no time to like build the backstory. And we finally have a team, one's ex-Pixar, one's ex-DreamWorks, that can come in and actually create a real fun, like kind of amazing story and timeline for everything that's happened inside of that universe, and then tie it into art as well. So it always has that through line back to what we do. So like, for example, we've got this little mini kind of fun, you know, it's not an ever expansive kind of metaverse, but this little tiny world that we've built that is just for going out and checking out really cool art that we have. And so that'll be launching here in the next few weeks. So for us, it's like, we know that we want to like obviously focus on art, have that be a kind of cornerstone of what we do going forward. But at the same time, we don't want to lose the fact that we can have fun with the lore and the storytelling and all that. So
is right now, and not to put you on the spot to answer this, but like, is it an engagement play right now and let's see where it goes? Or is there like a very clear plan of like, well, the YouTube series is coming and then the Netflix deal is around the corner or whatever?
Yeah, I mean, for us, it's, well, at least with this piece of it, it's very kind of time bound. When I think about what we do, anyone saying that they have a crystal ball more than, 2 to 3 months out is just absolutely lying to you. And so for us, our product roadmap and planning is kind of like at the edge of that. And when we think about the storytelling aspect of it, it's like we want to try a few things and test it with the audience to see how they feel and how they react to it. Because, to spend, how this is, like you can spend all these cycles building something, and if you launch it and it just falls on deaf ears, like that's a horrible place to be, right? So I think for us, it's like, let's get these little tiny, like people really love that video that we did that was 30 seconds long. It was a lot of fun.
It was a banger.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
It was fun. And I feel like we're going to do some more. We have a couple more little videos and little things like that to test the waters. And if people want to lean into that on the IP side, we want to unlock all the doors and make that possible. So, but at the same time, like let's not promise something that is a 2-year roadmap. Roadmaps are more or less dead at this point.
Frank, for you, the storytelling question.
It's funny because today morning there was like a Twitter challenge going viral, like your 4 favorite movies like are to change your life. And it's funny, the number of people in crypto that have Wolf of Wall Street, The Social Network, Fight Club. And so for me, I think just understanding our audience, there was this insight we had midway through, like 4 or 5 months in, that it's actually like the meta story of the fact that like me and my friends made this fucking project in our garage and we're like figuring it out as we go. That is a pretty compelling story to follow for a lot of people in the community. And so I think we've leaned a lot deeper into that. But for me, like before doing DeGods, like I'm like a growth guy, right? Like that was a growth engineer at startups before. And I just constantly am on TikTok and I'm like, fuck dude, we were just doing this so bad because people are just so good at making content now. And like, whether it's short form videos, whether it's like banger tweets, and they're like not only optimized around just quality, but also around the right type of content length, with the right hook that gets people to watch it and the views just go fucking crazy. So I just feel like deeply insecure. I was telling Kevin DeGods, I was telling him on the way here, every time I go on TikTok, I feel so insecure. Not like, because, some girls might go on TikTok or guys that like feel body dysmorphia or whatever. No, for me, I'm like, fuck, their storytelling is so tight. Like, God damn it. Like this retention on the loop is so good. And so I'm like pretty obsessive about, like, I feel like we could just be doing a lot better. And like, I feel confident now the direction that Twitter is going, that we just want to like quadruple down on Twitter content. And so, yeah, I think we're just like fumbling a little bit there. And I want to get back to just doing more growth hack type stuff. But yeah, I think the story for us is just like the meta story in a lot of ways.
The DeGods reality show.
Exactly.
Coming to a Twitter near you, essentially.
Yes.
Okay. To
Bryce Hall, let's go.
To close, I guess I want to circle back to this question of like how we go mainstream, how we break out of this echo chamber, to use the term used earlier. I mean, if you have just broad thoughts either of you guys want to share that we haven't gotten to on that, please chime in. But the other thing is obviously AI is like the new darling. Curious how you guys are thinking about that, or maybe even integrating it into your workflows, et cetera. You had the news, you retweeted Palmer Luckey, who was tweeting out that the new Apple AR VR headset that's been rumored for a long time now is like apparently amazing, according to Palmer Luckey, who created the Oculus. So he's a credible voice to be saying that. Like, what do you think that potentially does for NFTs? Or when I think about digital wearables, this is now becoming a 10-part question, but I'm just going to lob it out there and y'all will talk. But like, when you think about the potential for digital wearables, if there was actually some sort of like viable AR thing that people were into, is that a part of this story? How do these pieces fit together, or how you guys think about them for your businesses? Whatever that question.
At this point, ChatGPT is like running our company. No, I've been obsessed with like OpenAI honestly since 2020. Like GPT-3, there is deep lore, but like I remember I wanted the API access so bad. It was during COVID, and I wrote like, please give me GPT-3 on my mask. I tweeted the picture, got the fucking API back then, and I've been pretty obsessed with it. Well, but like,
when you say it's running, like specifically, because I feel like it's still limited. In my opinion, it's like it can do a certain set of things, but then it's kind of limited.
Yeah. I've gotten like pretty deep where it has all the context of our company and like our goals and like problems that we have, et cetera, built into like several different chats. And then I ask it questions and tell it to like role play as a angry DeGod holder that bought, or like whatever. It's pretty deep. It's pretty,
oh my
deep.
God,
no, it's incredible.
You're
like,
sick, man.
No,
this is like,
it's so good at finding these like kind of like details that you'd forget about and like scoping it all together in one. And GPT-4 it's like people are talking about Bard. Dude, Bard fucking sucks. Like GPT-4 decision making and logic thinking is next fucking
Bard is the worst.
So bad, bro.
It's so bad.
People are like, oh, it connects to the internet. No, it doesn't, bro. Like if you ask it to fucking go look up a YouTube video or whatever, it fails. Like it just like
it's the worst.
Yeah, it's really bad. No, OpenAI Maxi on God, but no, I mean like that I think AI is gonna radically like transform. I mean, this is like a fucking tech bro meme 24 or whatever, but like fuck, it's already changing everything. It's definitely changed the way that we operate, product scope, and like constantly learning new things. And what's so interesting is all the best prompts are honestly just like talking to it like a human. Like there's a lot of like science around how to do ChatGPT, but the real answer is like just treat it like a really, really smart person and just throw as much as you fucking can at it. And I'm already nervous because this is like the real secret sauce. Like this AI shit is crazy. But yeah, and then AR, I mean, I'm just like not a big believer in being first movers for like some of this new tech to ship to the community, because I almost feel like there's gonna be so many people that just try to do that immediately that it's unlikely that any of those are like the right implementation. So super down to wait until something's really good and then just like do it then. Yeah.
Viral video is watching you fight with GPT pretending to be an angry DeGods holder.
Dude, it's electric. Kevin was joking. He was like, man, this is like the perfect like friend for you. And it's true. I mean, dude, yeah. Like, it's pretty nice, man. Like GPT is insane.
Okay,
insane.
so you love it for business purposes, but you don't have a story in your head about like, this is how this helps, mainstream NFTs.
Oh yeah, I don't think you should be like dropping AI. I don't fucking know, right? It's just more like it's great for scoping. And with NFTs, like, this, man, like there's just, the mint, you said some shit. And like, there's like the holders that like got 4 fucking, NFTs. And they also were said, they thought they were going to get this thing. There's like all these like dependency tasks with NFTs at any given time. And GPT is pretty incredible with remembering all of that in context. And then, it's not good at coming up with ideas, but it's really, really, really good at refining ideas. Like really good at it.
That's been like, I'll be like, come up with a title, and it's nah.
Yeah. It's really good at like taking a proposed, you give it the right context, you give it a proposed idea, and then you just keep diving deeper and deeper in the questions. Man, that's the real fucking alpha.
All right, that's the secret sauce.
Yeah.
You go.
I mean, we've been using it for writing just some basic scripts really fast. I mean, it helps with software development, as you know. I think that there's a lot of AI artists that I talk to on the generative side. They're using it to write code. And then obviously, from the text to image side, like that's a whole genre of art now that is blossoming in NFTs. I certainly see that as another kind of main pillar that's come out of this movement. Like when I think about the sustainable long-term collectability of, art, I definitely believe that, generative art, obviously with art blocks coming on the scene, was huge. And I believe, Claire Silver, others, Brain Drops, and all the artists there, they have created like, that is its own genre now, which is, I believe it's amazing. It's just going to get better with time. And it's not about just typing in, it's not about prompt artists. I think it's like a little bit of prompt art plus like whatever you can add on top of it, that's your own flair. So it's not just about, who comes up with the craziest prompt that creates the biggest character with whatever. I mean, the shit you see on my buddy runs Prompt Hunt, and if you look at the unfiltered feed of that, it is like what people type into these things is so nuts. It's just insane. The majority of stuff that gets rendered out there. Have you been to Unstable Diffusion, the subreddit?
No, I've
Discord?
not. I have not. Midjourney, like I've played around with, but mostly just raw dogging ChatGPT.
Okay.
Because I don't even have the plugins. Like, just like I haven't gotten the updates yet, so it's just using.
I know.
That.
I'm waiting. I don't have the browser plugin.
Have you been to
I feel
this
like you got the plug. I mean, dude, how do I get GPT-5 early? Like, what's the alpha there, sir?
I mean, it's
that's a flex.
No, it's one of those things where I definitely believe there's a tie-in here. I don't know that we found it yet. Yeah. Certainly when I think about kind of what Artblocks has done for generative art and how they've kind of like put together this very tightly scoped thing that says, hey, it must be, P5JS, 3JS, or some other similar type framework, and you can create generative art here. I think somebody's going to build that for AI-based art. I'm not sure.
Is the AI blocks domain available?
Yeah, there you go.
Let's run that real quick.
Probably not. That's interesting. I mean, do you buy like the NFTs and blockchain are critical for provenance in a world where like nothing can be trusted because it's all AI and deepfakes?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's certainly going to be an issue. My question is whether or not AI is going to be able to help us in really discovering and pointing out what is the deepfakes, right? Like
it's the villain and the savior. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, if people want to buy the JPEG, they're going to want to buy it. If they don't, they're not. I think it's like very hard at this point, just literally with AI to figure out where it's gonna like change things. And yeah, like I'm not even trying to predict it, dude. It's fucking nuts, bro. Like AI Drake going crazy right now. Like, yeah, dude, you know, the AI Drake guy, he has a AI music startup, and like he did that as a marketing stunt.
Oh,
I
yeah,
found that out today.
He got all these emails. He's like, oh, I'll email you the track or whatever, because it was getting banned from all these sites, and then he, you know, now has this email list. Yeah, brilliant. What people were saying, it was Drake's company behind it, because then this was all publicity. But okay, with that, thank you guys so much. We're going to turn it over to a couple audience questions, let's hear it for these guys until we get to you.
Thank you.
I do have to give the caveat, we are recording, and if you ask a question, you may end up on camera. Nobody has signed a waiver, so don't sue me if you end up on an episode of Overpriced JPEGs. And I think we have a mic for a couple audience cues. Beautiful. Oh, hello, Cal. So yeah, put your hand up. We'll take a couple of these and then resume the party. Unless nobody has any questions, which would, oh, there we go. Let's go with this person.
W person.
The one person who raised their hand.
Hey, yep, one guy. Jacob, so my question for you guys is, do you see your holders as end customers or affiliates, like a marketing arm?
Oh, that's interesting.
What do you see, where does it lean more?
Affiliates.
Yeah, for me, it's like if you've done your job, they're your best possible brand advocates. Like they're going to go out and be your entire marketing arm for you. If you haven't done your job, or, you know, they can go sideways as well, right? Like I've never seen people fund their own bags. That started like 3 months ago.
Yeah. People, it's like funding other people's bags got boring, so they just got
their own.
Yeah. No, in the Discord for DeGods, like there's definitely like 4 or 5 guys that have been saying they're gonna floor their DeGod for like a year and a half now.
Yeah.
And it's just like razzing me at this point, but like, you know, it's just so funny. Like the same dudes, you know, if you're watching this, bro, every day, dude, floor my DeGod. Yeah.
Hi, Aaron here. This is an excellent discussion, and Frank, you touched on something early on that I've been thinking about all the way up till you touched on it, and that was the similarity and difference between real-world collectibles, baseball cards, art, comic books, things that have been around. They have story, they have other things around them for a century or more. And now these NFTs are digital collectibles. And we have this emerging market of K through 12 people who are going to become the adults. And they're basically not doing much of the, as far as I can see, the in real life collectibles anymore. They're really leaning into the digital. What does this mean for real world collectibles? Do you think they're going to kind of become the dinosaurs? Is the market share all going to be digital, or is there going to be some quasi-existence of both?
At a high level, it's like maybe I'm being too left curve on this, but the cost of production for a digital collectible is way lower than the cost for a physical one. It's more easy to trade, which is like they're called trading cards for a reason, and so it's cheaper to produce. It's probably more liquid, and it has more viewership / like number of people that can see and create and associate value to it. So to me, I don't know what company, like probably many different companies that are going to do this, but the idea of like digitizing or creating these NFTs around physical collectibles seems like, again, like one of those no-brainers that probably like there's 100 startups that are trying to make that. Probably the dude with like that knows his uncle that runs like Christie's or whatever is probably going to win in that race. I don't know. But my guess is, yeah, like it's a no-brainer. I don't know. When you look at it on first principles, it's like, man, it's just better across the board. But I think people in crypto Twitter get too excited about it, and they're like, oh my God, tickets are going to be NFTs. We're all going to the moon. And I don't think it's going to look like that. But I do think it's probably a gradual transition that will just continue to be more and more of like a no-brainer.
I feel like there's going to be a little bit of a hybrid that'll eventually be coming, because to me, in my mind, well, I'll give you a story. Did you even see the movie Bullet Train? Did you guys see that? It was a great movie. It was like just a lot of fun. Brad Pitt was wearing this like white bucket hat in the first half of the movie. And I was like, oh, that's a pretty dope hat. Like, I gotta see like where'd that come from, right? And so I go online and I'm like, okay, Brad Pitt, bucket hat. You know, I'm doing the search. I'll admit it to y'all. And it comes up, and it was like a custom made hat by the studio. It wasn't like a brand name hat, so you couldn't buy it. In my head, I was like, oh, this should be an NFT. And the second I buy it, I have the rights to actually produce this thing, right? And like, there's no reason why there couldn't be 100 of these, and I can like instantly go and claim and have that shipped to me as a collectible and a piece in time in history, and something that points that says this is the actual hat made by this particular brand. Like, to me, that's a no-brainer. Do you feel the same way or no?
Oh, exactly the same way. It's just one of those things where like everyone's gonna say it. Some companies are going to do well. Others are probably going to do poorly, but like, it's just the inevitable trend on like just the cost of production, plus like the fact that it's just a better marketing vehicle, like for getting eyeballs and getting conversions. Like, all of this being digital makes, I don't know, like, it's just, fuck, I don't see how it wouldn't be that, I guess.
I think it's interesting, like seeing Michael Rubin, who runs Fanatics, which is one of the biggest like sports merchandising brands, had been invested in Candy, which was doing purely, sports collectible digital cards, divested from that. I think sold it to GALXE. I think the Novogratz's fund like divested their share to them, and kind of made like a parting shot to NFTs, but still embedded in what he was saying is they're in-housing it basically within Fanatics, so that they're going to start doing more physicals paired with digitals. And I feel like that's the transition phase. It's like you have a company like Fanatics that every time you buy a pack of, or you buy whatever their merch is, et cetera, you have a digital twin. And then eventually that market just overtakes the physical market for the reasons you outlined.
So this is, again, one of those left curve things, but it's like, I think it just has to still be cool, because owning like a rookie LeBron card to most people in basketball is like, holy fuck, like, damn, you're cool. Like, that's cool, right? Objectively. And my dream, I think the contract expires 2026, like for the NBA digital collectible rights thing. I want to like run Top Shot back, but just do it in a way I think would be really, really good. I think that they pioneered the space, did a lot of things really well. But to me, it's like, it's very simple. Like, is the guy that's a basketball fan going to be able to flex to his friends that he has this collectible that are also into basketball? And will they think that he's cooler for having that? Because that's why people buy rare Jordans. That's why people buy like all these, sports memorabilia. And I think that when you try to like literalize it too much, like with the crazy videos, like the pack mechanics, etc., you lose a little bit of that simplicity. That's like, oh, LeBron rookie, duh, rare, right? Like that's like a simple thing. And I think, like if we were to do Top Shot, we'd probably just stick to only rookies, right? Like maybe it doesn't make sense to have a clip for every highlight, that kind of thing, where again, just got to be cool. Like, and because that's so much of what the digital collectibles market is going to be just driven by. And it is even to the bottom level with like Fortnite, Roblox, whatever. It's really funny. If you go to the Roblox marketplace and you just look at the top ranked, highest priced things, they're not necessarily like the coolest looking thing. They're not necessarily like the most shiny thing, but you clearly can tell there's a story behind it. Like one of the most expensive ones, I think it's like, I forget the number. It was a lot of money. I think 6 or 7 figures. And it's like a big marshmallow guy. But I'm like, I don't play Roblox. I'm like, I bet you this guy, when he goes into any room with kids that know how valuable that is, that's crazy. Like that's a flex, right? And I think it's unclear. When it's unclear what's a flex and what's not, that's when a lot of these digital collectibles get ruined. But it's inherent to the way that they early days were told the business model should be. And I think we've learned a lot since that early phase.
We've been talking a lot about this at Overpriced JPEGs, maybe internally, of just like the need for context for stuff. Like so many of these collectibles live in this vacuum. Like what you're describing is there's a context for that marshmallow, which is there's other kids hanging out on Roblox, and that provides that context. And think about that with like digital wearables and stuff, where it's like a floating skirt right now just completely lacks context and isn't interesting. I think that's why the AR play could be interesting, because you could start to create context for something if you're wearing digital wearables kind of out. But I don't know. We debate that.
It just depends if it's
Gavin's
cool.
more bullish on that than I am. I think we're further away from that. But totally. But cool is created by a social context, and that's we need more of that in NFTs.
It's like, what was the stat? I think it was Bernardo Arnault is like the richest guy, more rich than Elon Musk or whatever, and it's like off a handful of brands that are like luxury. I think he had this quote in the Harvard business thing. It's like like an all-star brand is both hard to access, but everybody knows about it. And that, I think, is an interesting lane to try to tackle. And I think that's probably what most people that buy NFTs are like looking for today. Because the same people that are like, oh, I'm so bullish on NFTs because people are going to use it for tickets. Bro, that's probably not going to make your bags pump, right? Like, and I think that there's this dissonance from the education that people are given when they get in the space versus like the financial decisions that they might make. And so, yeah, I think it's hard to get around the fact that when someone buys a digital collectible, they probably want number to go up. They probably want like all these things today in this market. So yeah, I think it's one of those things like luxury makes a lot of sense for NFTs across the board today. Yeah.
Hey, Eric. Shout out TFM day ones. Woo! Anyway, so bear market, you know, people talk about collectors looking at deals, trying to scoop something that's undervalued on that side. As the creator operator side, are you guys looking to scoop deals, let's say as far as talent or ideas from, you know, groups and projects that have capitulated during this phase?
I mean, I don't know.
How many people are you right now?
11 or yeah, like 11. Yeah. Between the two.
Are you actively like hiring or looking to bring in teams?
Dude, it's super tough, this market. Not that there's not a lot of great people on the market, but it's just like, bro, how do you scope someone to work in NFTs, you know, where everything they launch has like the fate of all these people, like, you know, in line. I think it's a very difficult challenge, and we've made a lot of mistakes and we've made some good decisions there, but man, like hiring, because a lot of people say they're excited about chaos, they're excited about doing this or whatever, but like when they actually realize that they have to scope for the guy that has like 9 DeGods that's been staking for this long, and it's like adds this thing to the fucking production cycle, that can just get painful. I think also seeing a lot of their work scrapped. So it's been tough, I'm not gonna lie, to find like great people.
Yeah, I mean, we've had a lot of collections. I don't know if you had this too, but collections will come to you and say like, hey, can you fold us in? Like, can we join? Like,
you acquire us.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
Yeah. There's it's been a handful of those.
Like, please.
Well, it's just people are running out of capital and they just don't have the runway anymore. And so they're like, okay, like I've got 6 months of capital left. Like I can go become part of something else and maybe there's a roll up, but there's no secondary royalties. Right. Like it's gone.
You're just another group of people that are going to be mad at us for something.
Exactly.
Or whatever. Yeah. I mean, God bless them, I guess. I appreciate that they're not just like cutting and running, I guess. You know, they're trying to find an answer for their holders.
There's one collection I don't think we have the money, or I don't know how it will work, but like Cryptodes, I just like a lot. And
I already tried that one. I tried to buy Gremlin a long time ago.
Yeah,
Cryptodes. Get your CC0.
They wouldn't do it because they're part of a DAO and they can't.
Aren't they CC0? Crypto?
Yeah, but it's a DAO that runs the whole thing.
DeToads.
DeToads. Done.
But yeah.
You heard it here first.
I just like that artwork, and like it's just super creative, and it's a marvel like for generative art. Like I don't know how the fuck he did it.
Didn't Gremlin do oddities?
Yes, he did.
Yeah. Shout out Gremlin.
Yeah, Gremplin's
he's the best.
Underrated still, honestly. Like he's like super young. I don't know that much about him. Outside like I'm a fan, but yeah. It's like I go through so much of the process with Johnny, like who I think is the real secret sauce for everything we do. He's like our lead artist.
Other than GPT-4?
Huh?
Other than
GPT-4, but Johnny's up there. He's like the lead artist, and he's like the reason that I think DeGods and Utes look so unique. But I get really deep in that process with him. And like anybody that does a generative art collection that's good, it's like, that's a miracle. It's like, there's so many ways the color palette could be off. You know, some of them are just rugs and they look horrible. And like, I think it's just really, really challenging. And so, yeah, when I saw Cryptodes, I was like, fuck, like all these look unique. It's generative. Like, I don't know how, I still have no idea. Most of the time I look at a collection and be like, okay, I see how the pieces are put together here, but yeah, Cryptodes is special, man. It's cool. Damn, chilling.
Thank you all so much. I know, wow, Crypto's gonna pump. All right, thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you, Proof. Thank you, our sponsors. I'm sticking around. We'll have more drinks. You know, come say hello. Thank you all so much.
Thank you so much for watching this episode of Overpriced JPEGs. If you liked this conversation, if you liked this episode, please go ahead and hit subscribe. It helps me out, it helps the show out, and it means you will get alerts and updates when we post new content. Thanks again.